All right, guys, on this episode of Vets and Vicks, I got my buddy Keith, who's a warrant officer in the United States Army. Keith? What? Keith? Where are you? Oh, there you is. Little joke. Some of y'all are going to get that, some of y'all won't. All right. Got you a water over there.
I appreciate it.
All right, Keith, well, appreciate you coming today.
No problem.
Thanks for having me. So, tell them who you are and where you're from.
Hey, so my name is Keith Jordan. I'm a warrant officer in the United States Army. I'm originally from Jacksonville, Florida. My pops was in the military, so we moved around a little bit. But I was born out in Fort Cavazos now. So I think I was just born to be in the military.
Got you. So you're a military brat?
I am.
Move around a lot?
We did. We moved around a lot until my dad started having us, and then he was over in Saudi Arabia. And, you know, everyone has a horror story, and they wouldn't let him come home to see us be born. So that was kind of his turning moment in his career. He was like, I cherish family way more.
I respect that. I get that. I told my daughter, because I moved around a lot. Parents weren't in the military, but I moved around a lot. And, going to so many different schools, I promised my daughter when she had high school, we would not move again. You know, she'd be stable. So she's still in middle school now, but I'm retiring. You know, getting looked at for sergeant major was cool, but the sheer fact I have to move around at least 2 more times, I was like, no. So I respect that. So, grew up in Texas?
No. Grew up in Florida.
Grew up in Florida?
Yeah. Okay. So we bounced around Florida. My dad's side of the family is from Panama City. My mom's more from Jacksonville, West Palm Beach area. So they met in the middle and settled in Jacksonville.
I got you. So what did you do before you joined the Army?
So before I joined the Army, I worked for the state attorney's office. I went to a college and I studied criminal justice. And back then I was a young, wide-eyed person. I would be a police officer and change the world. And then work for the state attorney's office. It kind of skewed my perspective. We handled a case back in the day called the Trayvon Martin case.
Yeah.
And we ended up losing that. And it kind of got to me, and I was just like, I don't think I want to do this anymore. It's not my passion.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
you were involved with the case on that.
Yeah. So so the fourth judicial system out of Jacksonville, Florida, and the head state attorney was Angela Corey, and she handled the case and everything. So. Yeah.
Damn, that's absolutely impactful. I
Yeah.
Man, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So you wanted to be a police officer, wanted to be in the, judicial system, and then what made you join the Army?
So I always wanted to be a police officer. My dad, he's in criminal justice. He works as a correction officer down in Florida. So he's always been by the book type of guy, like right is right no matter what. So he kind of steered me, or I guess biased in that perspective. And again, I just wanted to be the change that I want to see in the world. So I was like, I can do that being a police officer. So that was my reasoning for studying criminal justice.
And then what made you join the Army?
After that case, I was like, I don't think I want to work doing that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually went out to apply for the state to be a correction officer also, because at the time I only had my associates, and you needed a bachelor's with no prior criminal justice experience, like law enforcement experience. Which I thought was super weird, because if I work for the state attorney's office, how is that not law enforcement experience? But they want you to physically be like a security officer, police officer, something like that, park ranger. So they didn't count it, and I couldn't immediately apply. So I was like, I'll just work for the prison, because I've already worked for the state. I can just continue my time at the state and retire. So I went there, I did an interview, which is much like the military board. So you do the background check, you do everything. And your final thing is going in front of a panel, which is a bunch of correction officers sitting there asking you questions. So even before I even joined the military, life was preparing me for the military. And one thing that changed my viewpoint of joining and being a correction officer is, there was a lady. She was like, hey, your name looks familiar. She was like, does your dad work for the state of Florida? And I was like, yes, ma'am, he does. And before I walked in, she was like, hey, you got the job. And I was like, I don't want the job like that. I don't want to do nepotism. I'm already named after my father, so I kind of want to make my own path. And I never took the job.
Damn.
I called it back. I was like, I don't want to take the job, and I ended up joining the military. I called a recruiter. And I was like, hey, how fast can you ship me out? He was like, when did you take the ASVAB? I was a couple of years ago. I had already been to college and everything. And he's like, do you want to retake it? I was like, absolutely. I like Christmas Street ASVAB this time. So I ended up taking the ASVAB, and man, I went from like a 32 to like, I think I made like an 89 or 90. So I had to get a waiver. So believe it or not, if your score jumps more than 30, you have to get a waiver because they think you cheated. I was like, no, bro. I was like a junior in high school. My teacher told me I can get out the test if I take this. So yeah, I had to wait for the waiver for that. Then it got approved by some major. Forgot the person name. So shout out to him for saying this.
Man, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Man, that's because I took it in high school too. It's the same exact story. You get out of this period if you go take the ASVAB. I didn't know what the ASVAB was. I had no intention of joining the military, and I, fumbled through it and left for the day. But I took it, probably 5 years later, and I would hope my score drastically increased because I did really well when I finally took it, but I don't think I had to get a waiver for that. I didn't know you would have to get a waiver if it increased by that much.
Yeah.
Maybe you got a whole lot smarter in a couple of years.
Yeah.
You went to college. That's what college is for, right?
No. Trust me, I went to a Baptist college, and I went to play basketball.
I got you.
I did nothing on learning.
I got you. Well, if you can't tell, he is extremely tall. His seat is probably 2 inches lower than mine, and he's still probably taller than me sitting here on the video. So, yeah. How tall are you? 6'7"?
6'7".
6'7", yeah. I got you. So, you joined the military. Now, for those of you that don't know, you can't become a warrant officer like fresh out of basic and AIT. Well, I say that, but I do know a guy in his contract going through basic. Warrant officer school was right after. But he was on the Olympic rowing team, and he already had flight hours, and he wanted to be a pilot. And they're like, yeah, we'll send you to school to be a warrant officer right after AIT or basic. But for 99% of the people out there, you actually have to join the military and usually enlist, get your MOS, be extremely proficient in that MOS, and then you can try to go be a warrant officer. But, the warrant officers are the technical experts. They are the end-all be-all subject matter experts. You can be a commissioned officer and decommission and go be a pilot in some cases, but it's few and far between because it's extremely difficult to become a flight warrant. So did you join the military and go straight to warrant, or were you enlisted beforehand?
So I was enlisted prior. So just backing up a little bit for the story. So I went to a recruiter. I then was like, hey, I want whatever leaves the quickest. He was like, hey, I have this unmanned aerial system job. And I was like, well, I'm really good with my hands. I work on stuff. I've always been good tinkering with things. And then he was just straight up with me. He was like, I don't know what this is, but it sounds cool as hell. And I was like, sign me up for it. So signed up for that. I then went to basic training down in Oklahoma, Fort Sill, and then Fort Huachuca, which a lot of people, if you've ever been there, they say, Fort, we got you. I was only supposed to go to AIT for like 3 months, but then I went through 2 different aircraft platforms. It's the Shadow, which is no longer with us, rest in peace, and then the Gray Eagle. So I ended up being AIT for a year. Yeah, and it kind of sucked. Just someone telling you what to do every day, big checks for a whole year, and you joined the Army. So
you thought you were over that when you left basic.
Yeah, you joined the Army to fight bad guys. You're just like, nah, for another year, someone's gonna tell you when to go to sleep.
Yeah. Tell you when you can't go off post. So I tried to reclass to UAS, but then it was UAV operator like 3 times. And they're like, no, initial entries, we're gonna get priority. So they're like, you can be put on a holding list and maybe yada yada. And all the new guys get to come in. I was super jealous. My first deployment, we had a UAV platoon, and man, those guys, they had it made. Like, they had a life. Now, it's a lot of responsibility, and they did go to the field more than everybody else because they had to, be concurrent with their flight hours. But, I mean, you got mandatory crew rest, they didn't do any details, all this other crap, and I was like, man, I want to be one of those guys.
So, yeah, a lot of people don't realize. So, they're rated as actual pilots. So people don't consider them pilots. They're pilots by definition. So
The
they
FAA thinks they're pilots.
yeah, so they get crew rest, and believe it or not, if you're awakened from your sleep for more than 30 minutes, you have to reset that crew rest. If crew rest is 8 hours that your commander allows, you wake up that person and say, hey, I need you to come in or do something for 31 minutes. That person now is off for an additional 8 hours. Yeah, it's wild.
They have to abide by the same rules as the pilots, FAA, so you can't drink certain hours before, and you can't take certain medicines and all this other crap.
So yeah, you can't take any medicine to make you drowsy, so don't operate heavy machinery, things of that nature. And you can't drink things like energy drinks or caffeine pills or anything that'll keep you from acting as if your normal self. Because if something was to happen, God forbid, an airplane or UAS or airplane falls out of the sky, you immediately have to go to the hospital, and we call it pee and bleeding. Because they're going to take a urine sample, they're taking about 3 or 4 vials of blood to see if you have any type of drugs in your system or raised levels of like caffeine or things of that nature that might attribute to why the aircraft crashed.
That's great. I didn't know about the caffeine. My first deployment, one of the guys called and was like, hey, I called Monster and was like, hey, we're deployed. You guys have these new coffee energy drinks. Is there any way you could like get some sent to the PX? And Monster actually shipped him like 6 cases. Him personally, not to the PX to buy, him personally. So I don't know how many rules we broke that first deployment.
Yeah. Obviously, until you get caught. But it makes sense because energy drinks only prolongs you sleeping or your body functioning, your body shutting down.
Mm-hmm.
But just imagine somebody flying a plane and when that energy drink, it's up in your system, it's all or nothing. It's, oh man, I feel really alert. And then now that's when things happen.
It gives you a false sense of being awake. Your body's still drained.
Mm-hmm.
But that makes sense. Some of those payloads are pretty massive, especially like the Air Force, payload. So I get it. I get it. I wouldn't want to be on the backhand of that. I've seen the aftermath of some of those crashes. Like they get hung up on the net when they land on the flight line, and even though it just hit the net, it crashed, it flipped or something, and all of a sudden everybody's up in arms and everything's shut down and they're doing investigations.
Yeah, and I know we mentioned the shadows. It's everyone thinks, oh, it crashed, it'll be all right. Well, I mean, it will be, but it's also $3,000 or $4,000, almost $500,000 that just went up in flames and crashed. And although it is disposable, it's only so many times you do it before you get a heavy eyelid pressure.
And one thing I love about the UAS program is you said it's disposable versus human life. So with like recon and surveillance and stuff like that, like that's what we used it for. My first deployment, because the payload, the camera on there could do the surveillance for them. We get real time data back in the TOC instead of sending a whole platoon of scouts out there. Somebody shoots down the bird, of course, the Army's upset that they lost $500,000, but versus that life, which to me is worth a whole lot more than $500,000.
Absolutely. They say it to send us through basic training, give us uniforms, actual schooling. If you do it outside of the not in the military, so civilian sector, it costs a little over $1 million. So it's okay, you just lost that aircraft, but there's always going to be another aircraft you can buy or money to be made. But you can't find the soldiers willing to do it. Find the soldiers willing to then be able to pass all the schoolings, curriculum, etc. School them up for a year and then send them back out to the fight. Or you can just use aircraft. And that's why I think UAS is the wave of the future, is because you take away that human in there. And you can always replace material things. You can't replace a life.
Absolutely. Now I get that. Does the Army have any, the future is now with ChatGPT and AI and all this other stuff. Does the Army have any plans of, one day just having it completely automated, you push a button and it does everything for you?
Oh man, I wish I could retire right now. As of right now, no, but they are going into the future. They just, I want to say a year ago or so, they had a unmanned Black Hawk. So helicopters are now trying to do unmanned to where they'll have just one person in it versus 2 pilots, and essentially automated it to do everything it needs it to do. And if the human function needs to take over, it will. And you can grab what we call the stick to fly. But yeah, they're having unmanned helicopters now.
That's badass. I know they had unmanned strikers that they were testing out back when I was in a striker unit. And I mean, it was so advanced that if it got to a barrier, it would stop, sense the barrier, and try to figure out a way to go around it. Now, sometimes it got to a point where it was just going back and forth because it couldn't figure out a way to get around it. But it sensed the barrier there and knew to stop. You know, I was pretty impressed by all that stuff.
Yeah, which is amazing what computers can do. So us as humans, when we try to figure out a problem, in our head we already know, hey, this 50 different tries is not going to work. But a computer has to go through every single one of those. They're going to go through, we'll say, 1,000 different scenarios so where it can get around that barrier. But it's doing all of that in milliseconds. Whereas it'll take us maybe an hour or two of planning.
Oh, yeah.
And they figure it out in 30 to 60 seconds.
So, you joined the military, UAS. You said you were in Alaska.
I was in Alaska.
And then you made staff sergeant in 4 years. Super freaking impressive. And I don't care what MOS you are, that's out of this world. Then you decided to drop your warrant packet then?
So decided to drop my warrant packet right up in Alaska. I was thinking about getting out, being in our contract for 6 years. And doing stuff for 6 years, we kind of monotonous to where you do it every day. Like, oh man, we'll do something different. And so then I went to the local state trooper office and I applied for them, took their, I forgot what it's called, it's like the C badge. So the test you take for law enforcement to see that you qualify for, did all the physical portion of it. And then Army said, hey, we need you. I'm like, no, you don't. It was like, here's $50,000. And I was like, you're right, you do. So I kind of abandoned that plan and re-enlisted re-enlisted to go to Fort Stewart from there. But I ended up dropping my warrant officer packet and then getting picked up for warrant officer.
Man, that's a blessing. Yeah. Not only because you made warrant officer, because you avoided Fort Stewart. I was there for 3 years, and I tell you what, every day I woke up and was like, get me out of here.
Yeah.
Like, I thought about dropping every packet under the sun to get out of that place. So that's a blessing. So you finish school, you go to Fort Rucker.
Yep. So I go to, this was all during COVID. So I had to go drive from Alaska to Alabama in 10 days for just travel time. But I had a car I had to pick up, which was the 1970 Oldsmobile Cutlass, which is similar to that, same frame and everything. You might even mistake it. If you're driving on the road, you'll mistake it for one. Pick it up because I gave that car to my mom. So we had to go from, backtrack a little bit. I flew my brother and my dad to Washington. And then I scooped them up in Washington, drove down to California, drove to Texas because I bought a house out there, and then drove to Florida, dropped everything off, and then up to Alabama, all in 10 days.
Damn.
You drove it straight. We're just doing 4-hour shifts. So with 3 people, you drive 4 hours, you get 8 hours to yourself to sleep, whatever you got to do, and then you're 8 hours up, and you get right back on
That's a long time.
the steering wheel. Yeah.
Because 10 days, how many miles is that?
Oh man, I think it was like, all in all, we did 6,000 or 7,000
I was
miles.
gonna say like 4 or 5. 6.
Yeah.
Damn. And you're a big dude, so it's not like you can be super comfortable in there.
Yeah, no, I'm not comfortable with anything I drive. But it's what we had to do with it. So
I respect that. I mean, I couldn't imagine you being a tanker. Like a driver.
I would have quit a long time. Well, actually, I wouldn't at all.
Because you see all those tankers all over, usually like really short, and they're the same width as they are height, you know, a lot of the drivers.
Yeah.
Man, there's no way you can hit name tape deflate.
I'm like, oh, pop the top, man. Let me just drive like
You got
this.
troll door, you got the belly button hanging out and stuff. So, you made 6 and 4. You're in Alaska, drop your warrant packet, go to school, and then they send you to Fort Hood. So how was the car scene in Fort Hood?
Fort Hood was crazy as far as the car scene. Any car that you see on the road has essentially ET Street R slicks on them, and they have some type of power item, maybe 2. So back then I had an 85 Monte Carlo, and I had 2 power items. I had nitrous and I had a ProCharger on there. And I never shot that. I like to party. I never shot the nitrous, just purge and everything, because it's I mean, that Pro Charger, you're already at 1,000 horsepower. There's no need to throw more on that because you're fighting traction.
If you needed it.
It was there.
Yeah. I call that walk softly but carry a big stick.
Mm-hmm. So it was only a 50, we call it pill, 50 pill, the shot nitrous in there. That was just a little boost that you needed. But yeah, it was these platforms and what they can make just off of minimum effort is crazy now.
So you fit right in there for it.
I did. I loved the car scene. They had a car meet every Friday at Hobby Lobby, so you see cars there. And then you'll have people go there, look at cars, and then you'll see onesie, twosies, go off the race. They'll come back, and then they'll have their arguments, race again. We don't condone street racing.
Absolutely not.
No. But yeah, so I love the scene there. I had a couple buddies that I lined up with, and I seen your videos because I knew my car was fast for what it is, but I always let people, so if I was going to race them, I always let them go first. As soon as I see their back bumper, I'll go and see if I can try to catch them. And I had the hardest time. My car was a 6-speed manual because I converted it over to a manual. The hardest time keeping up with the Pro-Charged Mustang with their 10 speeds.
Mm-hmm.
That thing's a beast.
The Coyote motor, puts out a lot.
It does, and it revs super high.
Mm-hmm.
So I do respect those cars a lot. So
the newer Coyotes, like the GT 350 and all that other stuff, they're ridiculous. Yeah. I can't remember what it's like, 9th edition, 9th series or whatever, but they just, man, they can turn over some power.
Yeah.
With minor bolt-ons, I think the transmission's a weak point with them.
Yeah.
But still, 9,000 RPMs, 8,700 RPMs, whatever, power adder, and then freaking the car that's not super heavy.
No.
It's not like a demon or anything.
Yeah, and they're doing that with stock cams, and I think the only downfall, a couple downfalls for the Mustangs, but the two major are the oil pumps. They changed to the billet oil pump gears and the transmission. You replace those two, throw a Pro Charger, some nitrous on there, or even turbos, and they will eat. They will many set records.
1,000 horsepower out the box.
Yeah, but the only downfall is I can blow my motor 3 times in a year, and I'm going to the junkyard and grabbing it for $500. You blow a 5.0, you need about $5,000 to try to get a long block.
Oh yeah.
So that's the only downfall. It's money.
I saw where they were doing like a dollar for dollar build with between the LS, I think it was the LS3 and the 5.0, the Coyote. And I mean, you got to think, you got a single cam in the LS. You have 4 cams in that Coyote.
Yeah.
So dollar for dollar, the LS was 100 horsepower more torque, yada yada. But if you're going just build, I can absolutely see why people love the Coyote. So you leave Fort Hood and you come up to Fort Liberty, Fort Bragg.
So come up to Fort Bragg. I came here to learn a new platform better. I've already learned it out of the schoolhouse, and I'm kind of familiar with it, but I just want to get proficient with it because, as you mentioned, we're subject matter experts. We're supposed to know every aspect of our job. And while coming here, they divested the aircraft, which just means they got rid of it because they want to use that funding to fund the new system that's coming a couple years down the line. So call my branch manager, which is essentially HR for the Army, and they dictate where people go. He tell me figure it out when you get there. And I was just like, hey, roger that. So got here and I started doing small SUAS, which is more quadcopters, and they have kind of like airplanes for them. They can switch over to quadcopter, but doing smalls until we get our new system.
Have they talked about what the new system's going to be yet?
The Army has decided between 2, but their VTOL system, which just means a vertical lift. So it's a UAS platform, just think of like a quadcopter how it's on the ground and it just goes straight up. There's no need for a runway. There's no need to shoot off a launcher like the Shadow. It's spinning up, it's going, and then it transition to like airplane. And there you go.
Kind of like the Osprey, but
but for a UAS and hopefully crash a lot less. Yeah.
Got you. I got you. That's pretty dope. Because I saw the aftermath of, the launchers, and they would break on the launcher would break, or you come back and they have to catch them with a net and they'd miss it, or the net would break. And I can understand why vertical lift is absolutely the way of the future. So
yeah, and it's I'm looking forward to it. I want to come here and I wanted to receive the equipment, establish airfield where we're going to fly it, take that information that we receive from it, because obviously this new system is going to be downfalls, send it back to the companies and have revisions. And then I want to leave that little piece of legacy with UAS, and then I want a PCS. Hopefully it doesn't get delayed. It might, and it's looking like it will, but I do want to be a piece of that history for that platform at least.
that's pretty dope. So leave your legacy on UAS and then head out where are you trying to go next? What are you trying to do?
So not for the base, but for the location of Fort Stewart, only because it's like 2 hours from Jacksonville, so I'll be closer to home, and my family can see me, and parents get older, you kind of be a little closer. So.
Well, there's a chance you could be on Hunter because they got the whole flight.
Yep. So they have the flight line there for the manned. So they do have that out there, and then they have the one in Fort Stewart.
Yeah, I know they have a UAV unit there. I had a roommate in Georgia, and he was stationed with me in Germany, deployed with me in Germany, and then we got sent to Georgia almost the same time.
Mm-hmm.
He was my roommate for a while. If you get over Hunter, it's awesome.
Because it's like Savannah or something,
Yeah,
right?
Hunter is like the mall's right here, and Hunter, like one of the gates when you leave Hunter leads you directly to the mall. Like it's ridiculous.
Maybe that.
Yeah, it's dope. But Stewart, on the other hand, I was there for 3 years and prayed every day that lightning would crash on my house and I could leave or something. I hated Stewart. But location, I get it, because you're 45 minutes away from like 3 different beaches. Excuse me, Jacksonville is 2 hours. We got family down in Neptune Beach, so we go down there, a couple times a year. That's a huge perk. But other than that,
it's not worth it.
So you're going to be training a lot. You're going to be out in the field a lot, and Fort Stewart's all swamps. Like I took a Raven course out there, and we threw a Raven up, crashed in the swamp. So of course, Hands Across America, let's go find the Raven. Threw up another Raven, trying to see if we could find where that Raven crashed. Lost that Raven while going out in the swamp. I mean, we're talking like nipple deep water, trying to find it in some areas. Somebody lost a dagger. So Hands Across America to find the dagger, to find the Raven, to find the other Raven. It was bad.
Yeah, you guys just don't learn
That's
that.
bad.
Yeah, you don't learn.
No. Luckily, we found the dagger because that was one of my soldiers.
That's SI.
Yeah, that was one of my soldiers too. But the Ravens, I don't know if they ever found them. I think we just gave up.
Yeah, you can chalk it up as a loss.
Yeah. I mean, they're expendable. They break when you crash them and when you land anyway. So they're Ravens are like the baby to the baby of the UAS program. And anybody can fly a Raven if they have 2 weeks of schooling. It's not like you guys where you guys are actually certified to be pilots and all this other stuff. So, so Stewart, and then you doing 20 and calling it quits?
Yeah, so I'm gonna do 20 years, 6 hours, and 32 minutes because I refuse to do anything more. And you give me 6 hours of sleep, I can drive all the way across America. But Army will get 20 years. I'm gonna get my DD-214 and part ways with it.
Financially, for a lot of people, it doesn't make sense to do more than 20 years.
It does.
Especially for a specialized field like you're in. If you do so choose to do it outside of the military, I mean, you're losing dollars every day you stay in the Army.
Yeah.
My career field, I can have my retirement and then make a little bit more than I make now, and my salary's not bad. And 20 years you figure it.
Yeah, it's really good.
So it's not bad, but I can make more than that and my retirement. Where if I do another 3-4 years in the Army, I'll get, when I hit 20 years, I'll get an extra $250 a month, and then 22 years, I'll get another $250 a month. Doesn't make sense.
It doesn't, no, because for you guys that don't know, it's when we retire, you get 50% of your base income. So we'll say if you make $100,000 just for math purposes, you'll make $50,000 a year for the rest of your life, plus whatever inflation is, it'll go up. Obviously, keep it with the economy. But you retire, and we'll say that same $100,000 you were making, any employer on the outside will match it. So now you get out, you're civilian, you're making $100,000, but you still have that $50,000 that's coming in every single year, no matter what happens. and you still have medical benefits, so forth, so on. So then you just increase your income by 50% just by getting out, and that's what he meant. Is the $250 worth it, or is the $50,000 a year now worth it?
And we're not even talking about VA disability.
Yeah, that's another.
Because, if you do the math, if I get 100%, my VA disability is more than 50% of my base pay. So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, and then that's tax-free, no property tax. It's a lot of incentives come with that.
Yeah, depending on the state, you know, like Texas has some of the best benefits. Something I just learned, a few months ago. Unless you were born and raised in Texas, or you become a citizen of Texas, you don't receive those benefits. Because I know a lot of guys that they're like, oh, I'm going to go retire. I was born in New York. I'm going to go retire in Texas and get all those benefits. No, they're not offered to you because you have to be a resident. And somebody told me that you actually have to enlist from Texas. And then somebody said that they got benefits because they were stationed at Hood and then became a resident and they pay taxes and everything. But people really need to do their research on where they want to retire and see the benefits.
Yeah, and please do research. I bought a house out in Texas, and I bought a house in January 21. The house was built in 2017 or 18, so a couple years old. At that time, we thought the world was going to end, so interest rates were 2.25%, and that's what I got. But what they don't tell you is property tax is 2.6% out there. So I bought a house. I no longer own it, so I'll tell you prices and everything. So I bought a house for $250,000. It was 3,200 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.5 bath with a movie theater, like a dedicated movie theater. Well, I could afford that when I first bought it because my mortgage was like $1,300. Well, that $250,000 house jumped up to $450,000 in property. So I was paying 2.6% on $450,000, would equate to a little over $10,000 a year. So about $800 a month was going to property tax. And it was sickening to see that. So.
But when you sold the house, hopefully you got near that $400,000 area.
I got a pretty penny on it, which is it's a story for another day how I sold the house because I never put it on the market, never put a for sale sign on it. I actually was at a car show and I overheard a guy saying he was looking for a house. And I turned around, I was like, I'll sell you my house if that's what you're willing to pay.
So you are the epitome of cars are life.
Yeah, cars, everything. Everyone needs their fix or their vice or their Vic, and cars is mine.
Crack is cheaper.
Crack is a lot cheaper. Yeah, I'll probably. You ever see crack under the bridge? Not a care in the world.
Yeah, facts.
Yeah, me, I break apart. I'm like, I'm gonna fix it this time.
And then they don't have jobs.
They don't.
So,
no. I'm just living life in the moment.
Exactly. No stress.
We should be crackheads.
We messed up, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's not be crackheads, but let's go check out that beautiful old school you got outside. And I appreciate you stopping by and doing this interview with me.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
Hey, brother. Thank you.
I got royalty inside my DNA. Cocaine quarter piece, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got money and power, the Mecca American. Tell me something, you motherfuckers can't tell me nothing. I'd rather die than listen to you. My DNA.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Keith Jordan. I'm currently in the Army stationed here at Fort Liberty. I am a warrant officer. I'm glad to be the first warrant officer on the channel.
There we go. What we got here?
Yeah, I know we're far and few. So this is my car. I have a 1970 Chevy Chevelle. It's one of my dream cars. I've always wanted it, and I got a chance to purchase one from a guy who had just got it from the body shop, and it had nothing in it. No engine, harness, nothing. It didn't even have the windows.
So this is damn near a ground up build.
It is ground up. Frame was all, frames painted, everything. So we're in a modern world, and I'm not 40 or 50, so there's no carburetor. So I LS swapped it because I know EFI, and I want to make it be the V6 Mustang, so I put twin turbos on it.
You need twin turbos to outrun a V6 Mustang, is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah, car is completely built. It's frame braced. so the frame doesn't twist. I have QA1 suspension on all 4 corners, double adjustable. I have tubular control arms, pretty much anything that you could buy for this car to make it handle better, I did, being that these cars can get away from you.
Full resto. That paint, I can see myself in it. Got a couple handprints on it from wiping it down, but other than that, this paint is gorgeous.
Yeah, black is amazing for as soon as you wash it, and then 2 seconds after that, it looks horrible.
Oh yeah. My white one's just as bad. Look at the striping on it. Oh, that's paint. It's not a decal. SS. What about the interior?
So interior, I decided to stick with the original theme. So everything in here would have been as if it came off of the showroom, minus the radio, which is obviously upgraded.
Which still looks OEM though.
The
Jeez.
steering wheel, which I kind of went with a little racing with that. So quick disconnect if I ever go to the store or.
But you can't tell unless you're like right on top of it.
Yeah. And plus me being 6'7", it's easier to get in and out the car.
Yeah, like I said, I see why you don't drive Hondas. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Striping's all the way on the hood. What's that turbos?
67, 66 billet VS racing turbos. The 2 of them were good.
One wasn't good enough. You needed 2.
No. The 2 was good for about 13. I have a buddy who had these same turbos. He made about 1,300 wheel with them.
Eesh.
So I'm gonna chase that number one day.
Which LS platform is this?
So it's a 6.0. It's an iron block.
Okay.
It holds boost better.
Absolutely.
But obviously because it's iron, it's heavier. So sacrifice weight, but you can add a couple more pounds of boost in there.
Yeah, you make up for it with the twin spoolie boys there.
Absolutely.
She is gorgeous, man. Absolutely gorgeous. All right, guys, that was episode 3 of Vets and Vicks. Hope you enjoyed hearing Keith's story and checking out his beautiful Chevelle. That thing is out of this world. Listening to it start up and rev, the amount of time and energy he's put in that car is just astronomical. But like always, if you enjoyed, like and subscribe. Check out www.vetsandvicks.bigcartel.com for all your swag, like my hoodie here. Make sure you go a size up. The website says they run a little small. This is an extra large, and I have plenty of room. I think I could fit somebody else in it with me, but it's super soft and comfortable, so check it out. Thanks, guys. Out.